to create user interfaces and to do brainstorming. So kind of how it works is that it's a mixture between an app like Sketch / Illustrator with Google Sheets, in that multiple people can collaborate with in the same space, and you can have 5-10 people working in one single file. And what this does is it allows you to build really, really quickly, and it also allows you to share and collaborate, which is something that is extremely important whenever you're working in design. You always need to collaborate and work with other people. Now, Framer X, once you have your let's say you're working on an app prototype, you then pass it on to Framer X. And in Framer X, what happens is you can then begin to create some of the motion elements, some of the transitions, and then also, if you know a little bit of JavaScript, you can then take the components from Figma and begin to code them up and create them into the core components into Framer X. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to then test the app in as high fidelity as possible. Now, is anyone familiar with Webflow? So Webflow is a platform for, it's basically like Wix, but Wix on steroids. And all of you, eventually, if you're interested in UX, you'll have to create a portfolio at some point. And learning how to use Webflow, especially early on, is the best way of creating a portfolio. Because what happens is Webflow in itself is a platform that's super adaptable, and more clients are asking for skills in Webflow, meaning that they prefer to have a designer who knows how to use Webflow than a designer who knows how to code in some instances. So in terms of also soft skills, obviously you have teamwork, problem solving, design thinking, basically just being someone who's ready to grow, who's ready to grow, work as a team, and being able to solve problems. This is the most important aspect of delivering results in UX. And now, how do you build a portfolio? There's lots of different ways of finding areas of interest, as well as exploring opportunities. In campus, there's a lot of different clubs that you can join, like Launchpad, evel-UP. And then once you have between 2 and 3 solid projects, you can then begin applying for jobs, which is an art in itself, or begin doing freelance work. And here are some links that I've attached at the bottom with some other resources. Now, in terms of resources in UBC, these are what I would recommend. All these courses here are some of the best courses in terms of doing UX UI. I've taken all of them except for Computer Science 344, just because it's only for CS students. And then, if you're really interested in doing online courses, I would recommend doing the ones from Udacity first, as they're really they go in a lot of depth into the field, and they're not too much of a time commitment, as well as they're not very expensive. Mm-hmm. And then just other tips is basically do hackathons, joining the UX Hub. UX Hub has a lot of great resources, and try to meet as many people as possible. So yeah, that's basically the workshop. So any questions?
I mean, please also do take a couple of moments to also think of certain questions.
Yeah. What stage are you guys in terms of doing UX?
I'm at 0.
0? Okay, fair. Yeah, must have been a lot of information then.
Anyone else?
I've done a bootcamp on it before, so pretty much the whole process I've learned.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect.
Nice.
And have you? What did you learn in the bootcamp?
Basically from user research to user testing, and then ideating and wireframing. So basically like the whole double diamond design process.
Oh, okay.
But I just finished it, so yeah, just here to learn more.
Okay, perfect. And do you have a portfolio?
I'm currently building it. So during the course we did like a few projects, but I haven't organized into case study yet.
Mm, yeah, that's the hardest part is doing the case
Yeah.
studies. Yeah. Yeah, no, especially which projects have you done? Did you do SaaS or mobile apps?
Sorry, I don't really know what you were referring to.
Oh, like were your projects like mobile apps or desktop
Oh,
apps?
right. Yeah, they're mobile apps, mostly
Uh-huh.
iOS.
Oh, iOS mobile apps. Okay,
And
perfect.
did like two websites, but it was more like 10% of website, 90% of mobile apps.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, definitely, what you should focus on is on improving your case studies, and then once you have a case study, try to join like a startup in UBC, or maybe like join like Launchpad, and partner with people who want to like work on CS, and those guys are always looking for designers. If you come in and you say, "I'll design your app," they'll take you in and they'll treat you really well.
Thank you for the advice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyone else? If you could choose a dream company to work in, what would it be?
Google.
Google?
Yeah,
Oh, nice. Yeah, their interview process is crazy.
that's true.
Yeah, yeah. What they do is they basically they give you a prompt, and you have to build an app in 1 week.
Oh,
Down.
okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And then you what you do is you interview, and then you have to do like 4 rounds. It's like 4 hours, and in one of those rounds, you have to present the app into like a panel of interviewers.
Well, I'll tell you one thing for sure. It like between designing some screens of the app versus actually putting in the fillers as well. So to actually make the app functional, it definitely becomes a repetitive process. So yes, part of it is also being able to do the grunt work and also being able to work fast. So
Yes.
continuously practicing is also super essential.
Yes. Definitely, like always practicing and testing, like not being like afraid of like showing your designs to other people, which happens a lot.
Yeah.
Perfect. Any other questions?
Well, sweet.
Cool. So I'll pass it on to you, Saurish.
Well, thank you so much, Seb, for your workshop.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Alrighty.
So I guess we can like get into the workshop with Figma.
Yep.
So okay, like first of all, like we did prepare like a prerequisite document for you guys. I don't know like if you received it or not, like it was supposed to be mailed or it was like we can probably add it in Discord. But if you already have Figma installed, that would be a bonus if you want to follow along. If not, that's totally fine. You can like listen to us as well. And since the workshop is recorded, just like I'll just add it in Discord.
How many of you guys have downloaded Figma already?
No, okay,
No problem.
fine. So is it UI workshop, right? Yeah, I'll just add it there. So like the reason why like we made this document is just to give you like, so we have a link that can show you how to install Figma. And if not, like, do you guys want to do it now? Like, I think it's pretty quick, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Like, yes, like if you, like, can you say yes if you want to, or like no if you don't?
I'm probably gonna install it now anyway.
Okay. So I can share my screen and show you guys like how to do it, I guess.
Sure, that would work.
Yeah, let's just do it really quickly because I guess it's like useful. Okay, So just like open figma.com, that's the desktop app, right? Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So over here, like let's go to try Figma for free. Actually, no, you don't even have to click on try Figma for free. If you go to features and you go to downloads, if you click on desktop app for Mac OS or Windows, like just click on one of them, then I think it should automatically install. So did you guys get it? I hope it works. Okay. Just let me know like if it's installing, like we'll just go ahead then.
Yeah, guys, just real quick, I have to go, but thank you very much, and best of luck doing your apps, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll come by tomorrow. Thank you.
Well,
Bye.
thanks a lot, Seb.
Okay, so I guess like in the meanwhile, if you guys are installing Figma, we'll just go ahead with our presentation.
Sure.
So sorry, you wanna like pull out?
Sure. Actually, do you mind sharing the
Yeah, sure, no
Yeah,
worries.
sure.
Yeah.
I just
Okay.
my laptop sometimes
Yeah, no.
gets a little bit laggy, with Zoom.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. So awesome. Like in this workshop, as you can see, we'll be using Figma, but obviously the techniques can be used in Sketch, Adobe XD, and Framer. We'll be discussing Figma because it's mostly helpful with beginner UI UX design, but we'll also be touching upon Framer later on. So hi guys, I'm Charvie, and we have Saurish as well.
Yep. So just some topics of discussion that we're going to discuss today. We're just going to go over briefly design patterns and inspiration, gradients, backgrounds, color palettes, illustrations and prototypes, moreover inspiration for prototypes, and then the kinds of illustration sets, libraries and plugins that we will show you how to use with Figma, some concepts on visual hierarchy, grid and spacing, navigation components, and finally basic interactions, which we will also show you how we did that within actually the context of a dating app. So definitely something to look forward to.
Yeah, so today we'll be designing a web version of a dating app and the actual app itself. So if you guys already have Figma, then you can follow along, and I think we'll go ahead. So just, yeah, a brief, like something about us.
Well, yeah, I know that we introduced ourselves earlier, but just one thing unique about me is that I was supposed to do art school, but I ended up doing business and computer science. So that's a fun fact about me. What about you, Charvie?
Yeah, I like building digital art. I love Pixar, Disney, animations, like all that jazz. And I'm also trying to learn a little bit more about film and animation. So I'm all over the place. Like, but I don't know, like it's interesting to like not stay static, I guess.
Sweet.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess like I can maybe begin talking about design guidelines. So
Sure.
this is like very quick and informal, but um just curious, my screen is sharing with you guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So, okay, like when we mean design guidelines, we're actually talking about the finer details and something that is general in the industry. So, what comes into my mind is, for example, we have Apple. When you do Apple, like you can pull out the human guidelines for Apple, human interaction guidelines. So this is just a general idea, like, as you can see, like there are already like rules set in place by industries. So in order to like follow these templates and stuff, you have different version from Mac OS, iOS,
I don't think
etc.
we can see the website. I think it's stuck on the page.
Oh, it's stuck?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways, like, yeah, it's just like mentioning that there are like these guidelines, and over here we aren't gonna be like focusing on the very, very like minute details on Figma, I guess. Like we will be like brushing over it because we wanna give you like a chance to build something by the end of the day and like follow along, right? So but yeah, I guess we just want to make you like self-sufficient by like designing your own app, right? So I guess like what we can also like, if you guys are developers, like we can also like show how you can translate your design into HTML and CSS code using plugins and stuff, instead of just like straight up coding. Yeah, anyways, so we're gonna design our final design to mobile and desktop and look at the basics of typography, colors. And as I mentioned, like there are human interface guidelines that have typography rules, margin rules. But I don't want to like go over that in much detail because it can get like quite mundane. But yeah, let's get into like the fun stuff, I guess. Yeah. So I'll just stop sharing my screen. Yeah.
Yeah, but
So
yeah,
yeah.
sorry, go for it.
Do
Yeah,
you want to like
so
talk about patterns and inspiration, Saurish?
yeah, sure. So I can go over that. So are you guys familiar with the website material.io? Okay, that's definitely a place to gain some kind of inspiration. Um, do you guys know what material.io is, or have you never heard of it before? Or maybe you can react by putting like a thumbs up
Yes,
if you know what it is.
or like a thumbs up. Yeah.
So I'll just put the website in chat for everyone to also see. And this also serves as a guideline to kind of look at, how designs are made for, let's say, Google components or Android components, as there's a lot of material apps which are created in these days where it relies on quite minimalistic designs, using components effectively without making it too cluttered, and going over certain things like accessibility guidelines, even material components for web, if you want, and also how to implement design with, let's say, certain programming languages such as Java, Kotlin, Objective-C, Swift, and even Flutter. And
Yeah.
actually, one more thing that I would also like for you guys to look at is to see the Apple Airpods animation. Have any of you seen how that works? All right, so I think I can share my screen for this. And I will show you like a brief outline of how really, Apple does such a great job in such a subtle way to kind of enhance the experience of using another one of their products. But yeah, in the meantime, Charvie, you could go on.
Okay, cool. So yeah, meanwhile, while he's gonna be showing you the animation, so as you can see, like when we provided you with this prerequisite document, basically I wanted to just like include links for like helpful resources. These are just like my go-to links like whenever I'm designing something. So for example, so if for prototyping, we have InVision, wireframing, mockups. um, for web traffic analysis, this is like more into like when you've actually like built something and you want to like see like how well your app is doing. Other softwares, yes, so we have Figma, but and FramerX, we'll be focusing on Figma. the design guidelines that I was mentioning, just like quickly, it's over here. So of course, like what I mean by design guidelines is like if you're designing for iOS, then you probably want to stick with like the Apple human guidelines. If you're designing for Android, let's say, you'll be using Google fonts, margins, and rules that Google has provided. Obviously, it's not that strict. Like no one's gonna like, you know, penalize you for like not being in the margin. But it like the reason why it's over there, it's just that it's for user experience. And even though it doesn't like matter that much, like you'll understand like the importance of it when you've actually like put everything together and like how it looks at the end. Basically for UI free tools, like I wanted to like show you like when you're exploring colors and gradients, you can use this website called coolers.co. We'll be obviously like going through all of these one by one. And as Saurish mentioned, we have trends and inspiration. So because, you know, like if you're going to design something that is trendy and like people want to like use, then you probably want to stick to like what's trending, right? Like you don't want to make something that's outdated. So some like really, really good websites are out there that people like professionals in the industry use, and they, you know, put out their designs over here. One of them is dribble.com. This is really, really awesome and like super talented people, and they're like mind blowing.
Right.
Yeah, I will be. I think Saurish will be going through like one of the design.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Behance as well. But yeah, anyways, all of this is like provided to you. Like you can go through it for your own app for the Codathon. But I think Saurish, like you can definitely, if you have the animation.
Oh yeah, I can definitely show that.
Okay.
So I can show the Airpods animation if you let me share my screen. So it's just something, you know, that's so simple, and I really find it very fascinating that, you know, how Apple has decided to do this. So if I'm just to share this very brief component, so you guys can take a look. This is all UI, by the way. So really, this is where the power of animations as well really adds into the experience. Yeah. So that's basically all there is to it.
So of course, like we know that Apple is known to like create beautiful experiences. So this was like one of the examples, and that's obviously like why they're doing so well. So yeah, like let's begin with our project for Figma.
Sure.
Like so obviously like the concept that we're doing is building a dating app. So you can follow along with us. And one person, I think Source, if you want to share the screen, or I can do it, because it's live editing on Figma. So you can see what both of us are doing.
Sure, I think sharing it on your end would work just as fine.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, I'll just open it up.
So next we would like to go over, especially in the app, the gradients, background, and color palettes. And so Charvie will really show you, you know, how we made this app and start really with the initial concepts. For example, creating gradients.
Okay, so the first one that I want to show you is about how to create this landing page. So if everyone can see my screen, yeah. So as you can see, like we have various elements on this landing page, and you can like instantly see that it's called dating app, and the colors that we have used are mostly pink and uh you know, like the variants of pink and colors that go well with pink. And this is because it's a dating app, so we want to give the users an idea of like what this app is. So sticking with colors that are going to fit your like the theme of your app is really, really important. So what I'm going to do is like I'm going to show you the website coolers.co and how to actually get these like really pretty looking gradients. and it can like help you see how we fit together like different colors, right? So I can click on explore, or I can go on more and then explore gradients.
Sorry, I think your screen is lagging yet again.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Maybe you could stop sharing and start sharing again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about this, guys. 1 second.
Yeah. There we go.
You can see. Okay. So yeah, like when you open Figma, you can see that I have this landing page. So okay, first of all, what I want to do is I want to create an empty desktop, right? So I'm gonna click on A, and I can look at these different desktops. So I'm just gonna create like a basic desktop over here. So I have this empty desktop 1, and I'm going to expand this to make it the same size as the landing page. After I've done that, I'm going to change the background color to match it to the landing page. So I can either pick a different gradient that I have here. So as you can see, there are 2 different colors, right? So I can copy the hex code of each one and add it to my desktop. So let's say I really like this gradient over here. So I'm gonna pick this color here, and after clicking on desktop 1, I am going to click on fill. So it's on the very right.
I think
And
that you might be just sharing one of your screens rather than your whole screen. So like when you switch the applications, you can't see the other one.
oh,
I
that's
think
weird.
that might be it because I've shared it before for like other classes, and they're like you might be sharing just your web page or
Okay.
just your the Figma. So
Right,
like
Yeah.
sure.
we can only see where your mouse is going, not what you're showing.
Okay,
So
yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, I just found out there's a feature, new share, so I can like constantly change my desktop. So let me know if you can see it now. Can you see it?
yeah, now we can see it. Thanks.
Sweet.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so if I click on fill, as you can see here, like I can change this gradient, right? So I can change it to linear. And so basically the hex code that I copied, so I have 2 empty boxes here. I'm gonna paste it into the first one. And the second one, okay, can you see the coolers.co website now?
I don't think we
No?
can. I think you have to, when you're sharing your screen, you should share your entire screen and not just your page you're on.
So desktop 1.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm sharing individual ones.
Yeah.
Let's
So
try
you,
this. Oh, this is the website, right?
Yeah.
right.
And this is Figma. So did
Yes,
it
now we
work?
can see both.
Okay. So yeah, anyways, so yeah, this is like the gradients that I have. And as you can see, like there's like this white opacity, right? I'm just gonna go to this lighter and make it like full so that it's filling the entire desktop. And then I'm gonna change the angle so that it kind of like looks different and like at an angle like over like this. Yeah. So this is like an example of how you can change the gradient of the background. So if I want to make it customized to this one, like I can definitely click on the landing page and I can inspect the colors. So I can see all 31 colors and I can see that, okay, with the background, so the landing page, I have color number 1, color number 2. So this is like a separate illustration that I'm gonna probably detach from this desktop so that I can just inspect the background. And after I click on linear, I can see that this is the hex code that they used. So I'm gonna copy and paste it in here just to like show you how to match. I think this one looks pretty good as well. Yeah,
It's just a
but
reverse, right?
yeah, like the only thing that you don't actually have to like copy it exactly. We want to create different variations so that to your client you're showing different designs, right? And just like to make sure that your text really pops out in the design. So you don't want to make it like white or something so that no one can like reads your text. So I'm just gonna like try to like recreate this. So if I click on T, I can actually like make the text. I'm gonna say So you can barely see this now, but I have dating app, and then I have micro interactions, or let's, okay. So I'm gonna change it to make it look like this. We're gonna talk more about typography later, but just to show you, so we're gonna be using Nunito like for the entire typography. So I'm just gonna change this to make it look exactly like that. Okay. So let's say I got 144, and then I'm gonna make this into italics, and I'm gonna make this into white. Okay, so you can still see that it's quite dim compared to the above one, right? So that's why, like, if you wanna, that's why you have to make sure that the contrast is really there. So for this one, I might go a bit darker in terms of colors, like this maybe. So you can like see the font better, right? That's what I meant by contrast. So if you aren't really familiar with the color wheel, there's primary and secondary colors. They're just like basic things that you should keep in mind. If you go to material.io, material.io is really, really helpful because it helps you identify colors that fit well together. So there's the primary color and there's a secondary color. And if I go to design,
But essentially what the color wheel is aiming to show is to actually use colors which are adjacent to each other, which are right next to each other on the color wheel. And in order to create greater contrast, you take a color which is on the opposite side of the color wheel, as shown here.
Yeah, so you can see here that we have, this is the P stands for primary and S stands for secondary. So over here, like what this does is that if you, it shows you that the complementary colors are, wait, I'm just trying to like, tools for picking colors. Yeah, so complementary colors are basically colors that are completely like they're next to each other, right? Like so if you have the color wheel, like for example this one, like say this is the slider and this is like red, right? So the complementary colors are colors that will usually go well together with another color. So as you can see, like if I move like just like, you know, at this range, like it doesn't look that bad, right? But if I go like the complete opposite, analogous, yeah, not sure about that. Like it's kind of like it doesn't fit well together. So that's why with material.io, like whenever you put in a hex code to a color, it automatically gives you the complementary colors, and that can like help you make like choose the themes for your app. So, oh, here it is. Yeah. So say I pick, oh, here you go. Yeah. So if I pick green, right? You can see that it's already giving me like a monochromatic tone, and it's giving me a lighter tone, and you can see like how everything is fitting so well together. You can change this with different colors as well. So I have blue here, and I can see that I can like play around and see different colors that work well. So I guess like for example with the blue, I really like this dark purple. Yeah. So this is like one example of the color wheel, and keeping in mind a different like complementary colors and secondary colors, because it can like kind of make a difference in your design. So yeah, this is like how to create linear gradients. And if you want, you can also create radial ones. Radial ones don't generally, you know, like you won't be using it that much because it looks kind of, it starts from the middle and it wouldn't be that appealing, but linear gradients are definitely helpful. And using just solid backgrounds is very like plain boring. So definitely add gradients and use coolors.co to explore different gradients, something that matches your theme. So yeah, this was for the colors. And if you I just want to like go back to apple.com before ending this section. If you look at apple.com, you can see how with their web design, it's not static. Like they always change from, if you go to iPhone, it's always alternating from black to white, you know? Like you have here, you have the landing page as black and then you have it as white. And then you have this like off-white color as the background. And then you have off-white again, and then you have like different features emphasizing. So the flow is really important with a web. And so try to like, you know, like make it more flowy and explore the different colors within there. So
Right.
yeah.
We're trying to get engagement here, right? We're trying to make
Yeah,
sure
and
so
just,
that,
yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Just like a last tip, like if you want to copy paste, you know, the exact one. So you know how I was trying to like duplicate the hex code, like just a last tip, like you can actually copy properties of a landing page, for example, and you can copy paste it. Oops, 1 second. So yeah, there's like a copy paste property where you can copy paste the properties, but I guess it's not wanting to work right now. Anyways, yeah. So Saurish, do you want to go ahead with the other sections?
Sure, absolutely. So the next thing that I would like to go over is actually prototypes. So what I'm going to do right now is I'll show you, let's say, where do you exactly get inspirations for prototype. So as I mentioned, there is the website dribble.com. Oh.
Okay, I'll just stop sharing my screen. Yeah.
Sure. So I can go and share my screen. So here's the entire, here's Dribble. So now when I'm exactly looking for inspiration or I'm looking for some kind of prototyping, then really what I'm trying to look at is I'm trying to look at specific kinds of designs. So for instance, let's say I wanted to create a design for, let's say, a home screen, right? So I can just search up home screen. And once it loads, it just gives me some more inspiration to look at. And the best part is that there are so many people who've created so many different designs where really you can take inspiration from this and mix and match, which is also what we actually did for this dating app, which we created. You know, we looked at certain kinds of home screens. We saw which kind of elements from what kinds of dating apps do we actually like, and we just consolidated it together. And here we go. We've created a very good looking app. So as we can just go down here, we can see there are specific more simpler types, or up here there's some more complicated types of home screens. And really it's almost to try to gauge, you know, what is the purpose of your app. And this is where you kind of create that almost initial outline. How do you want your app to flow? How do you want, you know, what parts of your app do you want it to be more engaging than the others? You know, what is your main star feature of the app almost? So that's really where you go and you look at this for inspiration for those purposes only. And moreover, going over the visual hierarchy. So now this is where I think we'll open up the design for the app. Charvie, would you want to do that?
Yeah. So, okay. With the visual hierarchy, so we have the dating app here, and we have, yeah, so this is one of our designs for the dating app. And what we mean by visual hierarchy is that we want to use colors to give more importance to certain elements compared to others. And we want titles that are bigger and bolder with consistent fonts. And we know that the eye scans from top to bottom, right? And left to right. So we want to notice how we're using these elements so that we're not actually exhausting the users. So we want to create a top-down menu bar, which we'll be doing in a moment. And we want to use colors very appropriately so that the colors are not, you know, clashing with each other so that it tires like a user. So, but yeah, basically, and then using a consistent alignment. So as you can see, like if I inspect this, for example, if I'm moving this text, you can see that there's a grid, the red grid, which is giving me an idea of like if it's aligned with the card or not. And right now it is aligned. So that's good, right? And so if I kept it in the middle, you can already see that, yeah, it's not doing it justice. Yeah, and basically that is margins. And another thing about visual hierarchy is that if I inspect this app, I can see that, okay, we have here Rohini, and this card is showing that currently we have Rohini, which is the main pop-up card, and we have different cards in the background, and we can distinguish this because we have the shadow effects and the way it's laid out. So this is what gives like a design the 3D element, and this is very, very, very important to make it stand out. And that's where elevation comes. So if you also like go into material.io, they do talk about elevation. Perhaps not right now, but yeah, they do talk about elevation. And yeah, so
Well,
that
let's
is
give an example on, you know, how we actually created like these shadows as well.
sure.
Like just very
Yeah.
briefly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if I, for example, okay, I can show you how to create these cards, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. That
Yeah.
would work.
Okay. So let's, yeah. Okay. You know what? Let's like get into like, let's actually create the background first because we talked about colors already. Um, so if I click on A, I have my different versions available. I'm gonna click on phone, and iPhone 11 Pro Max, which is the most common mock-up that people use in design. And then yeah, so first of all, I'm gonna create a rectangle. Yeah, I'm gonna create this rectangle here because I wanna duplicate this background, right? So I'm gonna click on this rectangle, and then I wanna make the edges round. So I have over here on the right, like I have the angles. So I'm gonna maybe create a 30. You can see it's more round, so I'll go with 50 maybe. Guess this will do it. And I'm gonna make it bigger so that it fills the screen. And okay, so you can choose whatever color you want for this. Let's make it stand out, right? And it's a dating app, so let's go with the colors of like romance or whatever. So I'm gonna use eyedropper actually because I want to match the color that's over here for now. And eyedropper is really useful, so I'm gonna use eyedropper and match it exactly. And eyedropper can also become useful, like if you find inspiration, for example, Saurish mentioned dribble.com, and you really, really like this like color scheme, you can take a screenshot of it, add it in Figma, and then eyedrop the, you know, the colors, and it's very easy for you to like replicate the color scheme. So here wait, I have to make this rounder, I guess. Yeah. So I have this in place. And now what I'm gonna do is create the top menu bar. Yeah, so I'm gonna create another rectangle, and I want to add text to this. So I'm going to add text and I'm going to put in the timestamp.
Keep in mind, we're still using the Nito again. It's all the same font for the sake of consistency.
Yeah, new Nito. Yeah, make sure that you use the same fonts because, you know, like, it's just like, it looks nicer. Okay, so as you can see on over here, like we have the basic, the Wi-Fi network and battery logos. So this is where like our prerequisite document comes into help, where I added a link, I think, to the workshop UI kit. So I'm gonna open this. And we provided you with a lot of logos over here that are commonly used. That's UI kits are really important because you're going to be recycling logos like social media logos and like menu bar logos a lot. And this is like really important for you to like save time because you don't want to like keep searching for like really, really small logos all the time. Right?
I think you're still just sharing your Figma screen. I don't think they were able to see that the document.
That's weird. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So yeah, yeah, we basically added these here for you. For now, I'm like, I don't know, like I can't like look for that exact logo. But yeah, you can like always save it into your favorites so that you don't have to struggle like me right now. But yeah, like you can see here, like everything is available for you. I'm just gonna copy it from here because, you know,
For the sake of convenience.
for the sake of it, yeah. I'm gonna copy it and yeah, I'm gonna paste it into here. So, okay, you can like see the gray background is not very ideal for this. And I'm gonna match it to the background of this one. So again, I'm gonna use eyedropper because it's quick. And you can automatically see that the black does not work well. And okay, as you like also saw that when I tried dragging it, like the other elements didn't drag together. That's quite annoying. So I'm gonna copy all of it. So make sure that you can see the blue lines that it's selecting every single element, you know, just to avoid the frustration. And I'm gonna, yeah, just place it within the margins. And I'm gonna change the text color of the black to white because black and the dark pink are really clashing together. So here, I have the white here. And of course, this one is also in Nito, so I can like, you know, have the discover button and make sure that it's aligned with the timestamp. So if I, you know, here, like it's, you can barely see it, I guess, but it gives you like an idea. So over here, it's aligned. With pictures, you can always like use Google, but any stock images, royalty-free images, I guess helps, you know?
So
Yeah.
you got these from the community, right? Do you want to see where they can access that?
You want to show that?
Yeah, sure.
Community? Okay.
So before we go on, like Charvie had mentioned, there are also icons and specific kinds of images that you can get, which are already inside of Figma. So I will kind of show you how you can get those kind of things.
So community is really important because, especially with illustrations, you know, you don't always have free illustrations available. So in community, like they're actually providing you with different elements that are already there, like professionals have already made, and you can change it in your own style and own way.
So if you go to the top left-hand corner and then you go to plugins, and then you go to manage plugins. Now this will get you to an area where you can actually go find plugins. And a plugin that I really like to use a lot, which really does help me when it comes to development, is this plugin called Iconify. And so basically what Iconify does is it just gives you a large collection of icons that you can choose from across many different collections. And really this allows you to tailor your own style by looking at these collection of libraries of just icons. So for instance, I think if we were to go back to the dating app example, and let's say I wanted to generate one of these buttons, right? So all I do is I would go ahead and I'd go to my card tool and select ellipse. And then I would just create 4 small buttons here. Just making sure that each one of them are equidistant from each other. So as I can see here, the dimensions is 50 by 45. And if I want to change that to make it slightly more accurate, I simply just drag upward. And that gives me an approximate size of what I'm looking for. And now all I can do is just copy and paste each and every one 4 times. And I will worry about alignment once I've actually created these buttons.
Yeah, so he's basically duplicating it.
Yep.
So that it has exactly the same properties. Yeah.
Yep. So just copy and pasting it. Command C, Command V, or Control C and Control V if you're on Windows. And as you can see, Figma actually shows you the distance properly. So it allows you to really space out your elements quite fine, which is really another advantage to using Figma. And accordingly, I can also mess with the space to make sure that it's all aligned properly. And I can just drag everything. So I can left click with my mouse and highlight over everything. And this will allow me to move all objects simultaneously. And I can align it to the center, just like so. And now I can change actually the color of all objects by simply shifting and clicking on it. And I can go to fill. And I'll click on white. And although it looks like it has disappeared, actually, then the next thing that you do is you go to stroke. So you go to effects. And it would have automatically created drop shadow. And if you'd like to adjust this drop shadow, you simply click on the eye icon, pretty sure. Or you can click on the other icon, which is the effect settings. And I can actually reduce on the X and Y position, how far the shadow will actually drop. So for instance, if I only wanted to have a light shadow, I'll change Y to 2. And just like that, I've created the buttons, or what is assumed to look like buttons. And now for the next thing, what we'll actually do is figure out, okay, where can we actually find these icons? So I would just go to my top left-hand corner, go to plugins, and just keep in mind, guys, you should have installed Iconify before this is actually possible. So you go to Iconify. And let's say I wanted to find X mark, so I just write X mark. Exit. Or just in this case, I could write X. And it'll give me something quite similar. I think Charvie went ahead and she used her other icons, which is why it may look slightly different. But I can also find something similar here. So I can just click on it, scroll all the way down, and import this icon. And that would have been imported. And voila, it's right here. And as you can see, with each icon comes also its placeholder. So you would want to keep your icon within that placeholder in order to make it easier to actually create buttons. And we'll show you how to do that later on. So I'll just drag it to one of these buttons, increase their size. And I can observe the dimensions to make it symmetrical. And then I can align it properly so that it fits the proper context of the app. And just like that, we've centered it. And if I were to change the color, all I do is just click on this, which is selection colors, and go to a grayish option. And if I so desire, I can make it slightly darker. And just like that, I've just created what a button should look like. And as you can see, although it's quite thicker in comparison to the rest, you can of course find icons which are more thinner and adjust it accordingly.
Just a quick checkpoint, like everyone is doing fine, right? Like you can follow along.
Or even if you guys have any questions, you can definitely ask us.
Like we definitely want to like engage with you when we're doing this. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, okay.
Sweet, sweet, sweet. Great. So that's just one way. You could repeat the process consecutively for the rest of the buttons. And just like that, you would have completed the buttons.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
Yeah. And just like Charvie had mentioned, you can also create the lower bottom bar just by also looking at those icons and also changing their colors. So I think, Charvie, you could go ahead and show how you actually represent a button being pressed. Like,
okay.
So
yeah,
like so below, for sure. I'll stop sharing my screen.
I'll share mine now. So as Saurish mentioned, like like these different icons that you can use, and the reason why you can change these are because they're all in vector mode. So this also goes for illustrations. You can change the very like smallest of elements and dimensions of them. And that's like the beauty of Figma. Like that's why it's so much like nicer to design in Figma, because you can make it your own. Like you can already see like I can, change the like the thinness or width of this single logo. So what I'm gonna do is like I want to kind of I'll finish up with the buttons, and then I'm gonna go into illustrations and the community section a bit more. So yeah, like these different logos you can use, and you can change the colors of them appropriately. So if I go with like dark green, and you can always like press delete to delete the other version of the color. So yeah, I'm just gonna, just for the sake of time. So let's just say that we have the top, like the buttons done. One thing that you can actually do to emphasize a button, like say for example, I want to emphasize on the heart emoji. Like you don't want to emphasize on the cross emoji, right? Like you want to maybe emphasize on the heart emoji. So if I click on the circle, and if I click on strokes, if I make this, if I add a stroke, right? And if I want to change the stroke to, let's say 2, so I made it a little bit thicker. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to change the properties of this stroke. So I want to create dashes. So okay, this is like how this works. Like you have I'm gonna enter 3 numbers here. The first one's gonna be line height. The second one's gonna be like the number of what do you call it? The number of lines. The second one's gonna be the width, and the third one's gonna be like how many lines there are. If I say 100,
I think, Charvie, you could write that in the chat as well so that people can
oh,
follow
okay.
along. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just add it into the chat then, right? 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, so, okay. So here we have with strokes, there are going to be 3 properties when you go to advanced settings. So you will have the number of lines, gaps, repeats. Here. Did everyone get it? Okay, so I'll share my screen again.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, number of lines, gaps, repeats. Say like the number of lines I want is 10. The gaps I want are, let's say, 6. And repeats, I'm going to say 3 for now. Okay, I don't know why it's not working. Center. No, doesn't want to work. It's weird.
Maybe it's relegated to particular kinds of objects. But yeah, you can show like how you created the button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it looks really like cool. That's what I meant to say. Like, if you want to
Yeah.
emphasize on it, like you can have different lines around this and like the different gaps of it. But yeah, and I can like definitely change the color of the stroke. Instead of black, I can make it perhaps something like a red gradient that looks nice. I really like this one. So I'm gonna change, you know, like see like the pay attention to the details, because even though like this is like a very small thing, it can make a big difference in design. So I'm gonna select the second color here, copy paste it, and make sure to drag this all the way to the right so that it's not transparent, right? That you, if you might be wondering like why you can't see the colors. I don't know, like this one looks nice. So as you can see, already see like the simple button that we made here, that now it's really focusing on the heart button. So this is like visual hierarchy and how you can play around with strokes and gradients. So I think what we're gonna do now is like move on to illustrations. I'm just gonna show you, like go back to the web design. And you can already see like we're using this illustration here that's already provided. And the good thing about illustrations is that it's also in vector mode. So you can actually change the colors to fit it with your design. So let's say I have it over here and I'm gonna make this font smaller just so that it's not coming in the way of the illustration. Oops, sorry. And make the dating app heading a bit bigger so that we know that it's of more emphasis here. And what I'm gonna do is I wanna like match the illustration maybe to the background, right? So let's see. When I click on this illustration, I can inspect all the colors that are used here. You can see that this one is only for the phone. And I think the phone looks pretty good. Like, I think we can work on the people perhaps. So when I click on the people, I can already see the colors themes that are used. And let's say that I want to change like the pants and like for this one, and I want to make it match the background. So I'm gonna click on here and make it a little bit more towards, okay, so as you can see, if I go, super light, I think white can work, and you can use colors that are opaque as well, but you don't want to clash with the background too much so that it blends in, because then you won't be able to differentiate different elements. So we can have yellow here. Yeah. Say, for example, I want to change the colors of the hair to black. So first, when you saw, like, I clicked on the head, then I want to click again, double click. Now it's focusing on the upper eyebrow and the hair. I'm going to double click again, and now it's, focusing on the hair. So I'm going to make this into, or actually, I think I should make the eyebrows the same color. So never mind. I'm going to go for black here. Yeah. Zoom in a bit. Shift, so I can select everything all at once. And black. Doesn't make much of a difference, but it depends upon your preference. Everyone has their own taste, I guess, with hair.
And like the other thing to remember is that colors like white and black, they're actually shades more than they are actually colors. So they really tend to work quite well regardless of, the color combination that you're using.
Mm-hmm. Another thing, like if you want to change the opacity of anything, like any color, you have the percentage levels here. Say I want to make it like 90%. Oh, that didn't show anything. Wait.
And opacity just translates to transparency.
Yeah. Okay, I want to change the opacity to, let's say, something like 70 and 70. Okay, that's definitely not going to work, but like the brown is a lot more faded. And perhaps I want to make this purple background, like actually with fading, it works really well when you're making a navigation bar. So if you're iOS, like Apple user, like that when you have like different cards or features, like they have a blur, right? They have like a slight blur to it, so that you don't actually see the background, but then you like you can see the opacity of it. So you can actually do that with cards as well. So say for example, like I want to make a navigation bar here. So I'm going to click on R. So, oh yeah, I forgot to mention this, but for shapes, you can definitely click on like different letters on your keyboard to select shapes. If I click on, let's say, R, I have the rectangle. And if I go to the top down menu, like I can click on different shapes like circle and rectangle. The reason I'm creating a rectangle is because I want to make a card here. So I'm going to set the fill to transparent over here. Or I can actually do this, right? Like as I was talking about blur. So this can change like the slider here. You can see the hex code and the percentage. I'm going to go with 42%, 38, yeah. And I'm gonna make the edges round again. So 40 maybe, or 50. Yeah, so this is like what I have for now. And I can definitely, I can add a line to distinguish between the various elements. So I'm creating a card. So what I'm gonna add in this is like home, about us, find out more, and all the basic navigation stuff that I think Saurish will be mentioning more in detail.
Yeah.
So as you can see, like the padding is like a lot right now. I'm gonna change this padding. But yeah.
Shall we also show some of the other screens we've made?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyways, yeah. So for example, I can add in home, change this text to 50, 40, The reason why I'm creating like a blur background is because I want to match it to iOS, because iOS has a lot of like blur navigation bars. So as you can see, I'm just like duplicating so that it's the same size. So I'm doing Command C and then drag. I have home, about us, align it to make it centered. Let's say web, and let's say app, and maybe let's say
Login.
login, yeah. And I'm gonna change all of these to white. So you don't want to make this as big as I did. We should make it smaller. But yeah, I wanted to show you like how to create like a basic card. And this black is like very dominant, so I'm gonna change the opacity of this to like 50 maybe, or 40. So yeah, and definitely like this is like a bigger card, but you can go ahead and make it smaller, you know, just to fit. Yeah. So okay, I guess that's it for visual hierarchy and how to play around with cards and blurs and shadow effects. You can also add like a shadow here in effects, drop down shadow. As Saurish mentioned, you can like hide the shadow or you can showcase it. So yeah, do you want to go ahead, Saurish, with the other app features?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I think the next thing that we'll actually go over is how do you actually be creative, use some of the cards that you have, and almost create your own unique features within the app. So I'll just give you an example real quick. So if I'm to share this. So if I were to scroll and actually end up going to, for instance, the preferences page. So the first thing I would ask you guys is, how do you think that this was made? Because this is a simple slider, but what do you think did we use to kind of make this? Feel free to just maybe say it out or just write in the comments.
Just like maybe the emojis, like those features, for example, like the actual like location button on the left.
All right. Yeah,
and then just
that's for sure. We use
the
that.
different elements maybe overlapping for like the line, like the black line, maybe like the actual circle will like then later on when you actually make it be like attached to make it longer just to cover up the gray. I don't know.
Yeah, you know what? You perfectly nailed it, actually. That's exactly how it was made. So for instance, if I were to show you how to actually make one of these things, it's actually quite simple. For instance, if I were to make the slider, all I do is I'll go and first create a very small rectangle. Just to show you how some of this is made. So let's say there's this rectangle, and then I were to change it to white. Oops. There we go. And then I were to first make a rectangle that is of one width. So for instance, I would just make a very thin rectangle here. Maybe just have it of length 3. And then zoom in. And just continue extending that for as long as I need necessary. And to curve it, all I do is I just go ahead and click on this right here, which says corner radius, and I'll set it to something like 18. So that gives me my initial bar. And now if I want to show that a part of it has been covered, all I do is just duplicate this by copying and pasting it. And I would reduce the size depending on my liking. and overlap it. And then what I do is I would then change this color to black. Ta-da! Now we have part of it. And the very last step is to actually use a circle element and change this color to one of our defaults. So in this case, it would be this right here. And there we go. We've just created a slider element. So, it's just, being able to use some of these rectangle and circle elements to just kind of create your own features. So for instance, if I wanted to make also something like a drop-down menu, all I had to do is just use the rectangle. And then what I do is that I'll just change this to white. And then I'll add a shadow. Change the radius, maybe make it 15. And then, or maybe slightly less in this case. Let's do something like 10. Right? Maybe that's still a bit too much. Maybe something like 5. There we go. And then if I wanted to show that what the subheading would be, I'll just create text element, figure out what size I want, and kind of.
You can just press T for text.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, shortcuts.
Oh, always useful. So I'll just call this checklist. And then right below, I'll just add another rectangle element, make this slightly more thinner, around the edges, change it to black. And then I would then go ahead and go to Iconify. Search for a check button. Click on it. Import the icon. Go here. And really make sure to keep the elements in their own respective placeholder boxes. As I said, it'll help with buttons. So then put the checklist here, reduce the size, maybe make it 10 by 10. And then what I can do is just copy and paste each one of them. And I could change the color to make it black. And here you would click on their individual icons and not the placeholder, so that you would definitely color in the icon itself and not the placeholder. Change this to black. And also change this to black. And accordingly, I'll also change the stroke. Make that black. The stroke black as well. And then, for instance, I can just create this text. And I'll do something like do laundry, which is quite irrelevant when it comes to a dating app, don't you think? Oh no, it doesn't fit well. So all we have to do is just drag it. And here also we would be mindful of spacing. So here is actually where you can sort of differentiate. So for instance, if you want to use certain other texts for your subheadings, then you could do so. A personal favorite of mine is actually Roboto. So, and yeah, just like that, I created a subheading. So yes, this isn't exactly the best checklist. It would definitely take a lot more effort to make it look better, but this is just some of the ideas on how you can replicate certain kinds of features just via, tools that you have right now. really, that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Saurish, do you want to also talk about the plugins and the libraries?
Oh, absolutely. So I think early on, so for instance, I'll actually use this as a reference. So you might be wondering, where did I find such high quality definition logos of, let's say, payment methods? So actually, it's on the community. So I would just go to the top left hand, click on plugins, and I would go to manage plugins.
Whoa, this is so cool.
Well, thank you, Parsa.
I love it, man. This is so dope. Tell me more.
So here, then all I do is write payment icons. And this will refer me back to the community.
So communities like they're for like designers who've already created designs and they're willing to provide free resources to you and inspiration. In no means does that mean like copying their designs, but adding on to it like and making it your own.
I mean, for instance, like having to design these logos individually, I would personally think that it might be slightly a pain. So instead, what you could do is just hop on the community and get these logos, because it's not like these logos are proprietary, are they? So for example, if I wanted to copy MasterCard, instead of copying the whole element, I could just click on the icon itself, copy it, then go back to our original dating app, go down here, and then I would just paste the logo here. And just like that, here we have the MasterCard logo. And of course, we can play around with the height and the width to make it proportional so that it looks more like a button. And if I wanted to actually turn this into a button, then I would just go ahead, click on the rectangle icon, create this, and I would change its edges, turn it into something like 18. Go ahead, change its color, make it white, add a shadow, and I'll just paste this here. So if it sees that you can actually place it, it's not actually going on top of your card, all you can do is just click on the card itself, right click on it, and click send to back. And just like that, you would have your card sent at the back, and now you have your icon, which is on the card. And that's just like how we created one of the buttons. And the same way you can create way more buttons as we've done up here. So, and let's say you wanted to show subtotal. We also did that using simply the square card feature, and also for the lines, they're also really tiny rectangles. So that's just how we showed payment details. Really, it's just using all these elements that we have right above us.
Like cards are basically rectangles, shadow effect, and yeah, that's literally it. Like rectangles and shadow effects. So yeah.
Yeah, and just the same way as Charvie had mentioned, you can also create these outlines with their own respective colors in order to show that you've clicked on a button. Or one other thing, which is slightly more unconventional that you might be able to do, is click on the background, the card, and instead of clicking drop shadow, you could click inner shadow. And that way it kind of gives the illusion that you've actually clicked on a button. That's just another way to do it. Yeah, so that's basically what I had to talk about. And I guess I can go over just the plugins again. To access plugins, you would click on the top left-hand corner, go to plugins, and click on manage plugins. And let's say if I wanted to see some of the plugins, I would then go ahead and, for instance, I could search for icons. All right, it seems like something isn't working right now.
I think we should talk about illustrations as well, just
Oh
like how
yeah,
we
yeah, go
can
for
grab
it.
free
Oh, do
illustrations.
you want
Yeah.
me to? Do you want to share your screen for that?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So basically, with as you can see here, like we're using okay. So for the app itself, like we're not using illustrations. We're using images. And just like quickly, a simple way to add images is like if you click on an image, you can either just drag and paste an image, or you can replace it. So when I click on an element, I can click on the image itself and choose an image. So you can replace the image. But since we're talking about illustrations, let's go to the landing page. So just basically, we talked about how all illustrations are in vector mode. You can like, you can even like delete certain elements if you think they're like irrelevant or taking space. So command delete. Just yeah, basic things. But the main concern comes with like, where do you actually find illustrations like without having to pay for them? So you can either use the prerequisite doc that I shared, which has websites to free illustrations. But a very quick way is using the community section that designers have provided, their designs, and you can use their illustrations very gracefully. If I search illustrations here, you can see the screen, right? Okay, I'll assume you can like see my
Yep,
screen.
I can see.
Yeah, okay. So you can already see here, like with illustrations, there's so many ideas. So for example, if I click on the first one, so when I clicked on the community section, like I can't really, okay, I can. So I'm gonna copy paste this and this particular illustration, and let's like kind of replace it since, well, this isn't really relevant to dating, but let me just do it for the sake of it. And maybe we can change it to, let's say, app development, since it looks like, yeah. So what I'm gonna do is like, this is like one way that you can actually recycle illustrations from the community section. But if I want to like match it to the theme, like I showed you guys before, like you can play with like very like individual elements and change the color. But I actually want to focus like very quickly on mockups. So what I mean is when you're presenting your design or app to a client, like you want to show it in like a certain desktop, like an iPhone version or an Android version. So there are a lot of, like, as Saurish mentioned, like free libraries available. So this library that I'm using is called Angle 3 library. So if I go to community and I search for Angle here, this one. So I already have this installed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy here, iPhone 11 Pro, this one, and I'm gonna paste it into the dating app here. So this is what I have. I already have the plugin installed. And let's say that we have Discover 2. This is like the screen name, Discover 4. No, let's use message list. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on the vector here, the screen, and I'm gonna search for angle. It depends on your desktop, but I'm gonna search for angle here. Looks like I don't have Angle installed. Okay. Okay, it's not showing Angle here, but let me come back to this. What I'm gonna do is like, what I wanna do is like, replace this message list into the screen, right? Saurish, do you have it installed? I guess I have to install it. No?
I don't think I do, but let me see if I
Okay.
can install it as well.
Yeah, I don't think I have a plugin installed. Oh, here. Okay, I don't have it installed, never mind. So you actually had to click on plugins, right? So I've installed it now. Let's go to plugins. Guess it, oh, Angle mockups, okay, apply mockup. So I clicked on apply mockup, and so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna choose a screen frame. So I know that the name of my screen frame is message list. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on message list and select the quality as best and apply mockup. So it's gonna load, and as you can see, it's like, you know, showing that it's loading, and hopefully this message list screen will automatically import itself into the iPhone. Okay, here it is. So already you can see that when you're presenting it to a client, like you have the screen loaded into the iPhone, and you can see how it looks like when you're actually using it, right? So you can use this to create wireframes and prototypes. Just a quick plugin that we use. Another plugin for developers, HTML to CSS code, very helpful. You know, Figma to HTML or Figma to CSS. It converts your entire design to code. But yeah, basically these were just quickly the mock-up versions, and you can do the same for a MacBook Pro or any like desktop. Some of them are paid. A lot of the extensive versions, the free ones, I think they just provided for iOS. But yeah. So just stop sharing my screen.
Yeah, but I mean that's basically how we basically create a screen. That's all we do.
Yeah, I think what we can do is like, Sarge, do you have anything to add in, or should we just quickly move on to creating basic interactions, and then you can go ahead and show your Dyne
Yeah,
app
sure,
and
we
how
can do that. It's totally cool.
Okay.
We have like around 20 minutes left, I'm pretty sure.
Any questions so far?
Like I know
Sorry,
there's been a lot of stuff.
through the mockups, but yeah. I can like add the name of the plugin again in chat. Okay, so I guess I'll go ahead and show you how to create basic interactions. So what we mean by basic interactions, first of all, is that you can go ahead and create like really complex animations. And I think Saurish has something to show us like with animations that, inspiration from Figma. So that's like one thing that you can, like the power of Figma to make animations. So yeah, go ahead and show it to them.
Yeah, sure. I can show you how we actually create these interactions. So I will just share. So for instance, if we were to show interactions of different button presses, then really all we had to do is just do this. So for instance, I would just copy the screen. Oh, there it is.
Do you want to show them dribble, like the Japan animation?
Oh yeah, sure, I can go ahead and I'll show the Japan animation.
That was really cool.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Yes, so I think I can share my screen now. Whoa. Might have some issues loading it, but here is like, I think that this is a really cool animation. Like it's really advanced, but I think it really adds a lot of things to the app if one were to implement it. For instance, the change of the sword could signify a loading screen, or really any of these could signify a loading screen. Or certain wait times or certain, in between screens where there's really not much to show. You can use some animations like this to fill in the space. Yeah, that's basically it. And I think Charvie will show you how to make a really simple one.
Yeah, definitely not this advanced for now, but let's look at how we can use interactions like with our app, like when you're presenting it to other people in your team. Like how, like basically this section is the UX section. Like we were talking about UI, like, the basic features. Now we're going to talk about how like to actually make it, like make the users feel. So I'll just share my screen with you. Okay. So let's take, for instance, let's copy desktop. Let's copy all of these desktops since I've already added the interaction, but I want to show you from scratch how to do it. Or I'll just copy first this one and this. Okay. So as you all know, like in dating apps, like you can all like swipe right or swipe left, right? So what I'm gonna do first of all is go to prototype. So right now we were in design, right? That was like for the design elements, but now we're gonna click on prototype and I'm gonna click on add interaction, and on click, let's say when you click on, I want to delete this because I want to show it to you guys. So let's say, first of all, when you click on the image, say on click, navigate to, first of all, desktop 5, right? Desktop 5. So it's very, like the language itself, it's pretty clear. When you click, it's going to navigate to desktop 5. But what I want to do is here is I want to click on drag. So what's going to happen with on drag is like it's going to create a swipe effect so that when you're swiping, it's going to change it to desktop 5, this image. Okay, so that's the basic feature. Second one I'm going to do is like when you click on this one, it's not a recycle button, it's to go back. You're not recycling the person. But yeah, when I'm gonna click on this one and I'm gonna say on click, navigate to desktop 4. So it's gonna go back. So that's to undo it. And first, we can also add smart animate. So, like to create like the effect of it being like smoother. And you can set this to like 300 or you can say 320 milliseconds, right? So like this. Okay, now let's say that I wanna see how my interaction looks like. So what I'm gonna do is, first of all, I'm gonna copy all of this into a different page, because what happens, like when you have different you see what's happening here, like you have so many different screens, it's gonna intersect with each other. So it's better to not have everything in here. So I've created the same on drag effect on this Discover 1 and 2. And for this mockup, I'm just gonna call this mockup. So the way you can change the name is over here. Yeah, the spelling is weird, but for some reason that's how they call it mockup. So for now, I'm gonna click on play. Let's see how it looks like. So when you're pressing play, it's actually for the interactions. I'm gonna go in options and fit scale down to fit so that I can see everything. Okay, now let's see what we did. Oh, okay. So we also added, like basically when you see my cursor, what's happening is that what I did was I just did click and navigate to, right? So it's I selected the message icon or whatever icon, and I connected it to the desktop. So I think I forgot to mention this, but yeah, like as you can see, this message app, when I selected it, I clicked on prototype click, and when I did on click, I did navigate to, and because it's a message icon, I did message list, navigate to the screen message list. So it's pretty obvious that when I click on the message list, it's gonna navigate to message list, right? So that's all we did in like this entire prototype, like the design. Message goes to message list. On drag, you can swipe left or right. And pretty much that's it. Oh yeah, and also with profile, like when I clicked on this icon here, prototype, click profile, navigate to, and then it's gonna go to your profile. Rahul, you know, his profile here. So what I'm gonna do is now play and show you how this looks like. So fit scale down to fit, and let's go to messages, or this one here. Okay, let's try to drag this. Okay,
There we go.
so I just dragged it. Roman. Sorry, like the I know images are why.
He's looking a bit different.
I know they're like supermodels or something, but Saurish, do you want to talk about this? Like creating like,
Well, I
I don't
mean,
know,
these are just stock images,
marketing
right? So,
techniques, I guess. Yeah, so okay, I'm gonna click on messages. So you can already see, like when I'm scrolling down, like I can see the messages, and I'm gonna click on profile, it goes to my profile. So you can see like how it's very subtle. It's like, you know, taking its time. So that's for the UX, like it's showing that, you know, it's not like flashy and all, like it's not very sudden. So that's the reason for that.
but you get like a feel of the app now because, you know, you've created this smooth element. So even without having to develop anything, you definitely have a working app per se.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's you didn't even add any code. It's just like to show, right? Like obviously like this isn't physical yet. It's just like animation. It's just animation, and that's it. But like through animation, you're showing how the app's gonna look like with the code. So that's what we're doing here. And yeah, just like with the basic drag effect and navigate to buttons, or yeah, we're kind of just, yeah, like recycle or back. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is like what we're doing now. And we have a working prototype. So that's basically it for basic interactions. Like when Saurish showed you like the really, you know, beautiful Japan animation, like that's something that you will do like after lots of practice.
So we have, I think, one question, which is,
Okay.
wait, so when the other picture shows up behind, it's like already in the next screen, or did you put the next picture behind in that first screen? So I think you can take that.
Wait, can you repeat that?
So basically, how did we show the drag animation working? Did we have a picture
Oh,
behind, or did we have a picture?
yeah, we didn't do anything. We basically had two screens, right, with the images. And then what we did is like, when I clicked on image 1, I went to prototype, and there's already a drag feature on there. So what it's gonna do, it's automatically gonna like have the other image placed behind. So you know, like when you're dragging, like you can kind of like see like a peek through the other image. Like I think that's what they mean. Like so yeah, that's already there because like Figma knows that you already have like another image in Discover 2, and since it's connecting back to that, it's gonna like show like a sneak peek of like when you're dragging. Like it's not gonna like, you know, show like a flashy screen. Like it definitely wants to be smooth, and the good thing is like Figma is pretty powerful, and it's designed this way to create smooth transitions. So yeah, basically to answer your question, it was only, we just added 2 images to our screens and did an on drag navigate to effect in prototype, and yeah, it works.
Yeah, that's really basically it. You know, that's really how you now on your way to go ahead and design a fully fledging working app, but without any code. Just using these limited number of tools that you have on Figma.
I hope what we told you was useful.
Yeah. And actually,
think-
one more thing I'm going to show you is actually how I ended up also creating an app on Framer. So I think I can show you just, I think, an overview of, you know, how fully like fledged app with even intermediate animations actually looks like. So I think if I open this up, I can go ahead and and as Seb was talking up in his earlier presentation, Framer is just another tool that you can use. It's more centered towards developing apps than it is towards, you know, web development. But you know, you can definitely interchange between Figma and Framer X depending on you know what you're going to use it for. So for instance, I can just show you an overview of how actually the Dyne app itself was designed on Framer X before we actually put it into code. So this is just an example. So I'm not sure if everyone can see the screen, but this is just an example of how the Dyne app was to work. So if I were to click play, just give it a couple of seconds. Takes a while to load on Google Chrome, such a RAM eater.
True.
I mean, if it doesn't load as well, you know, too bad. You know, oh, come on, right? Okay, there we go. So then I just click, you know, get started. And really the best part about Framer X is it even shows that animation of a button. So it's really more like using an iOS app. And I can also drag. And there are individual tools inside of Framer X that allows you to do these things. So this was almost like an idealized version of how the app should look like. But translating that into actual code was a lot more difficult. So we're really trying to make iterative processes to try to improve on the way our app also looks. And the best part is you can even enter user input. And even for a password, you can set it so that it gets highlighted automatically. You can log in with my email. And so really, you know, guiding people through this process of showing how the app flows, it takes a while, but ultimately it really does show, you know, what the app is really supposed to be and really can sell people on the idea of, you know, how your app would work even before building anything. So for instance, if I wanted to choose a cuisine, I would just go ahead and choose one. And click on. I hope it doesn't lag. And then I can choose between friends. Think Okay, I think it seems to be lagging. But anyhow, I think you guys get the gist of it, that there are different kinds of tools that you can use for different purposes. And ultimately, it all comes down to personal preference, depending on what you're trying to use what tool for. That's all I have to say. And I think it looks like we're at about time right now. I hope that you guys learned something from this, or maybe if you guys already knew, I hope that we were able to reiterate some of the concepts to maybe clarify it and make it slightly more easier to understand. But other than that, both of us wish you guys the best of luck. Sorry,
Yeah,
yeah.
just one thing before we actually conclude. Can you guys actually go through the UI UX prompts as well?
Oh,
Just so that
absolutely.
people know what they're working towards. So let's just go through the prompts as well.
Sure.
Yep. I'll just share the prompts. So sorry, it seems like my laptop is lagging quite a bit. Charvie, could you share the prompts?
Yeah, sure. Just give me a minute.
Yeah, absolutely.
The workshop was really great. Thanks so much, guys. I'm sure people learned a lot about Figma and just the overall design thinking. The workshop was really awesome. I really loved it.
Oh, well, we're glad that you enjoyed the remaining portion of it.
So I can actually share my screen if you guys want.
Sure,
I can't find the doc again. I think it just got lost.
No worries, I'm just gonna share it.
Thank you.
I think I'm going to stop this recording now.
Let's actually just go through this as well.
Sure, okay.
So for the UI UX, we have 2 prompts. First, we want to go through this one.
Right, so the first prompt that we have is actually for an onboarding process. So this is the user sign-up process in which a user is almost converted into the app. So it's the whole process of making sure that the user is understanding all information about the app as they're logging into it. So as you can read the finer details in the text itself, I just want to ask, do any of you guys have any questions about any of the prompts? I can even go on to the next one. So of course, the next one is simply a profile page, as this just shows certain information about, the way you would display information on, let's say, a user's profile after considering, what like the Dyne app looked like and what you expect the ideal profile page to look like. I think this is where your creative thinking can really go ahead and shine. And lastly, if you choose to do the meetup creation and restaurant reservation prompt, it just is to show how would you envision a feature using specific animations to try to show how restaurant reservations might occur on the app. If there's any details that you want to know, for instance, how the app would work, you can just look at the requirements, and the way you interpret it is the kind of creative thinking that we want to see from you. So really, surprise us. That's all I'm going to say.
Just a quick note, we'll also share the Figma design that we made on Discord for you guys to have access to it. Yeah.
prompt be?
Yeah. So then this is suppose that Dyne is to add new features on the app to create more value for users on the app. We want you to design a solution that increases the inherent value of using the app without changing the app's initial purpose and without increasing the complexity of using the app. So really what we're trying to ask you here is, in what way can we change the way the app works so that we're able to almost create more value for the user simply by using the app? But at the same time, when we're talking about complexity, we're talking about not increasing the difficulty of users using the app, of both existing users who are on the app and for new users. So you can consider both of those scenarios. And you can work on better UI, you can work on new features, you can work on a combination of both, but this is where we want to see how you could balance between increasing features while also reducing complexity and making the UI far more efficient. And for the last prompt?
I think we have 2 prompts.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So yeah, if there's any questions that you have about any of the prompts, just feel free to reach out to me or Charvie, and then we will be happy to answer any questions.
And yeah, I think we're really looking forward to actually judging the submissions that you guys actually submit. So Charvie and Saurish will be judging the submissions that you actually submit as well. And these guys will be actually crowning the winner for our codeathon. So yeah, I'm sure you guys are excited to learn, see what people have learned, and actually judge and award the guy who wins, award the team that wins. So looks nice.
Absolutely,
I hope
we're
people learn a
looking
lot.
for your creativity, we're looking for your ideas, go crazy.
Yeah. Awesome.